So it appears that Donald Trump's public rebuking of bloodthirsty terrorist Benjamin Netanyahu has forced Israel to do the unthinkable, which is to respect the ceasefire deal for a change. As things stand, Israeli terrorists have not made any transgressions. This was after Trump used expletives to express his disapproval to Israel's disdain for peace.
Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
He followed it up with a post on his personal social media platform, Truth Social. He wrote, and I quote, Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. End quote. In another post, he wrote, and I quote, Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do, it is a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. End quote. War criminal wanted by the International Criminal Court, Benjamin Netanyahu, issued a video message in Hebrew to claim victory. I will explore in a bit if there is any truth in his claim. But let's first look at what Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei had to say on the ceasefire. He had earlier tweeted, and I quote, those who know the Iranian people and their history know that the Iranian nation isn't a nation that surrenders. End quote. Now let's examine the claims made by both these sides and see who has the bragging right in the end. When Netanyahu launched his reckless military attack on Iran in violation of international law on the 13th of June, he had two explicit and two not so obvious objectives. His two explicit objectives were to completely destroy Iran's nuclear program by bombing its nuclear facilities and killing its scientists associated with the program, and have a regime change in the Islamic Republic. 12 days later, there is unanimity that Iran's nuclear program is intact, and if anything, Netanyahu's reckless action has only made the Iranians' resolve to acquire nuclear weapons even stronger. The Ayatollah would find it hard to reject the argument in favor of a nuclear bomb as a deterrent in the future. Remember when I told you first that the US bombers had failed to damage Iranian nuclear facilities, particularly the Fordo one? Some raised questions on my assessment. You can watch that video here. Now, the entire might of the US media is unanimous in agreeing with my conclusion. Listen to Republican Congressman Michael McCall, the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Even he agrees that the US attack may have delayed the Iranian program just by a few months. That's it. No significant damage. No evil permanent damage. And definitely not obliteration, as claimed by Trump.
This is what we say, quote, the U.S. military strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities last weekend did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program and likely only set it back by months, according to the intelligence assessment. It was produced by the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Pentagon's intelligence arm. Now, worth noting, Caroline Leavitt, the White House spokesperson, pushed back against this report, said it was wrong. I'm interested to know your reaction to this, considering that President Trump has repeatedly said that the program was, quote, completely obliterated.
Well, it's unfortunate that intelligence gets leaked so quickly in this administration. I understand the president's frustration. Having said that, it did cause significant damage. And I think that's important in terms of a time to negotiate a peaceful resolution. However, and I've been briefed on this plan in the past, it was never to completely destroy these 3 facilities, but rather cause significant damage. But it was always known to be a temporary setback where they could then rebuild the centrifuges. I think right now the key is to keep applying the pressure, the leverage.
So why do you think the president is saying what he's saying in public, if that's the case?
Well, because it did cause significant damage, and he had 12, 30,000-pound bombs being dropped. It's all a matter of semantics. I think the president, thinking it completely obliterated. Look, it caused significant damage. It was a temporary setback.
Watch this broadcast on CNN, echoing the same.
We have major breaking news into CNN. 3 sources tell CNN that according to an early U.S. intelligence assessment, the U.S. military strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities last weekend did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program and likely only set it back a few months.
That's right.
As for Israel's second explicit objective from this aggression, Netanyahu had talked about a regime change in Iran. Even Trump had agreed and shared his intention on social media. We all know that the Ayatollah continues to have a firm grip over the current government. Netanyahu's other 2 objectives were to cause massive unrest across Iran and destroy Iran's ballistic missile program. This descendant of so-called Shah of Iran was given a makeover, and Western media outlets were roped in to run his interview non-stop. The poor guy really began to hope to return to Iran as a ruler once again. It seems his wait had just become endless. The reality is that Iranians are ever so united in their hatred for the settler colony, despite BBC Persia's attempts to push Netanyahu's agenda. In fact, Israel's indiscriminate bombing has forced even the Iranian government's die-hard detractors to rally behind the supreme leader. So clearly, Netanyahu failed spectacularly in both his stated objectives. As for the Iranian ballistic missile program, Netanyahu is likely to experience nightmares in the foreseeable future. In contrast, Iran had only one objective, which is to stand up to a bully in the region and take him head on. Of course, Tehran had its own shortcomings and limitations. With no air defense system, no air force, and a severely compromised intelligence network, Iran had to rely on its long-distance ballistic and hypersonic missiles. Tehran had to judiciously use its stockpile in a way that it could inflict significant damage on Israel without losing much of its arsenal to Israel's much publicized interceptor missiles. Going by the widespread damages caused in Israel, it's safe to say that Iran has achieved more than what it originally expected from its missile attacks. It hit the Israeli pride by destroying the Mossad headquarters, severely damaged the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange building, made Haifa power plant defunct along with Haifa port, Haifa refinery, Ashdod port, Ashdod power plant, and its refinery. As Israeli losses began to skyrocket, the rogue regime of Netanyahu enforced a ruthless censorship on media people's ability to report objectively on the damages caused by Iranian missiles. Worse, Israelis, who are otherwise never tired of calling the stolen land of Palestinians as the promised land, were quick to return to their original countries. Since Ben Gurion Airport was shut, they chose to flee through land and sea routes. Listen to pro-Trump broadcaster Theo Van and lawmaker Thomas Massie discussing how first Gaza and now this Iran misadventure have become a massive PR disaster for the settler colony.
I think it's one of the worst PR campaigns I've ever seen in my life. If they're even, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, I just don't, it gives their government this extremely evil look to me, and I think to a lot of people,
Well, rough numbers, there are 2 million people in Gaza and 50,000 have been killed. That's 2.5%. Like they've killed 1 in 40 people in Gaza. If you did that in the United States, if you did 2.5% of 350 million, it'd be almost 10 million people dead in the United States. Everybody in Gaza is at this point related to somebody who's been killed. Like at least a first cousin you had killed. And then if you say how many have been maimed, it's probably 3 or 4 times that. So everybody in Gaza knows people who've been killed and maimed.
And we're supporting it, right? That's also the part that makes it really tough sometimes to just be a person. It's like our tax money is going towards this. But I just hope that people in some of these other countries know that, you know, it's not regular everyday people who would want to do these things, you know, that it's like governments making these choices and it's corporate interests that make these choices.
I will leave you with this clip of Canada-based lawyer, journalist, and podcast host Dimitri Laskaris. He broadly agrees with what I have said many days ago in one of my videos.
But at the same time, I think it's very clear that Israel is in serious trouble. Iran has demonstrated that it can penetrate the air defenses of Israel, not just Israel, but the Americans, the British, the Jordanians. They're all trying to protect Israel from the Iranian missiles. They're failing miserably. There are credible reports that Israel is running low on air defense missiles. So I think it's in real trouble. And I think that this is an attempt by the Trump administration to bring this to an end before Israel gets completely devastated. I don't want to suggest that Iran isn't taking serious hits. It is, no doubt about it. But I think in a war of attrition, Israel is going to be the loser.
That's it for me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. And I'm very, very thankful for the outpouring of the love that you have shown on YouTube in response to my videos. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.